Well, let's take a deeper look at Tencent's earnings report and bring in Ray Wang. He's a principal analyst and founder of Constellation Research. Welcome, Ray.
Hey, Rachelle, how you doing?
Good, thank you. So, how surprised were you by Tencent's second quarter earnings missing analyst expectations?
You know, I think that was priced into the market. We all knew that the Monster Hunter, ban and the other regulations that are coming down as China cracks down on over-gaming or spending too much screen time was going to come through. And I think that was priced in. And so we were expecting that. But what we weren't expecting was the increase in daily active users. And that, from a long-term perspective, is the number to really look at.
And Tencent certainly has its hands in a number of pots. So what are some of the brighter spots from the report?
You know, I think it's important to understand that, yes, esports is an area that's going to grow, but think about this. We're talking about over 1 billion users, right? They went from a gaming platform to a social media concern, to social, in terms of having the social piece, to then getting to commerce, and then to payments, and now they're in all spots of entertainment, and they serve as a VC. I think what people are forgetting is the fact that this is a digital business protected by the great Chinese firewall. Right? And they are basically in a good model, and they're basically only going up against Baidu and Alibaba. So it's a three-legged race for all digital commerce, digital payments, ads, thinking about sports, gaming, all in one spot. It's a portfolio company. And once you look at the pieces of the portfolio, you realize, okay, there's a great place for esports to expand beyond the China market. The Weibo, WeChat, WePay piece, that thing is huge. That is still playing a big role. They're still got a search engine off QQ and the portal and the sites that are actually going to drive future additional sets of revenue. But the payment space was on fire, right? And so when you look at the overall sets of earnings, the number that was most of concern to everybody would be daily active users dropping, which would indicate longer-term lag on growth. Now, the short-term piece, yeah, we all knew that was going to happen. And for the investors that were betting on consistent earnings, always making their numbers, that regulatory scare did hit them pretty hard.
Now, as we saw, Tencent had a good history on its side. So as we take a step back, how would you say Tencent's overall business is performing?
I think the overall business is doing really well. They've done a great job building out the entertainment empire. They've been thinking about how those partnerships work with other gaming studios. They've made investments around the world in those areas. And they've also invested early in some of the disruptive and innovative technologies by placing bets in other areas in the consumer markets, whether it would be ride-sharing services, whether it being a venture capital arm in terms of AI technologies. They're in that space, and people go to them before they even go to private equity firms or venture capitalists to fund entrance into the Chinese market. So from that perspective, the overall portfolio is doing well.
Now, Tencent, with all its advancements, is still being weighed down by these concerns about things like monetization and also trying to curb gaming addiction among children. So what would you say are the biggest challenges to Tencent's growth?
I think the biggest challenge is the uncertainty that's going on in terms of regulatory climate. Is China really clamping down, or are they just doing that to go through the motions to say there's tons of screen time, we really need to help people limit these? That's just one area. But it could be other things that may emerge in terms of risks as to, if they're trying to expand into India and countries are starting to nationalize their policies in terms of how other networks or how other social media concerns or payments or digital businesses are entering countries. So the nationalistic piece is another one that was driving a lot of the social media stocks down. And data privacy isn't a big concern in China, but it's a big concern around the world, which was also creating a category and sector drop as people were worried about social media stocks and digital businesses that actually have to deal with the data privacy issue.
Now, as you mentioned India, what do we know about Tencent's growth strategy and some of the other markets that it's trying to expand into?
Well, I think what they've been doing right now is gaming is like a universal platform. Everybody plays games. It wasn't not even by age, not even by gender, right? Not even by religion or race. A lot of people are playing the games. And so that's always been the entry point in. And as you play games, you get more social, right? You start adding other features, people communicate, and that's where the WeChat piece came in. And so gaming was still their #1 entree point to get into new markets. I think getting into esports changes that conversation, makes them a lot more global, gives them another opportunity to take their existing infrastructure, apply new content, build new partnerships, and expand their average revenue per user.
Now, as we've seen, Tencent is also introducing new features like its mini programs. Tell us about what's really exciting for you in terms of what the company's working on that has the most potential for the future.
I think what we're seeing is that place where payments, commerce, social networks are coming together. I think that area is actually one of the areas that makes it really strong. I also think it's the fact that these closed data loops that a lot of these companies can provide, which allows segmentation and mass personalization at scale, is also driving the advertising revenue. And that only works just because these markets, you're engaged in topics, you're engaged in events that people can kind of look at and say, okay, here's a related recommendation, here's the next best action, here's the next best offer, here's something someone might be interested in. And by building that community, I mean, 1 billion users, right? 1 billion users is a huge number to work with.
All right, always good to see you. Ray Wang there, Principal Analyst and Founder at Constellation Research.